You're gonna roll it, Jeff?
Hydrated, clearly.
So a copy for you and a
I'm ready.
The other thing too is you can
All right,
pick some
I
grade.
think we're ready to rock and roll here. This is exciting. There's people here. Yay! Engagement in the community. All right, so we are going to call to order. This is a regular village board meeting, Monday, January 6th. It is 5:01 p.m. Peggy will read the roll.
Horton,
Here.
Carpenter,
Here.
Jacobson,
Here.
Glish,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Donovan,
Here.
Bollig.
Here.
All right, so our first order of business is we are swearing in the police officer Jeff Orritt. So I'm guessing that Jeff is here. Yay, there's Jeff. Okay. So should I go out there and do this?
Please.
All right.
Oh, no,
here we go.
hold on.
Oh, hang on. Chief.
Stand by.
Yes, stand by.
So
Chief, you look so nice tonight. Look
Thank
at
you. Thank you. This is one of the most exciting parts of my job. I get to bring on another officer, swear them in, help them start their career. So on behalf of the members of the Oregon Police Department, I want to thank you and welcome you to the swearing in of Officer Jeff Orritt. I just want to say a few words. The mission of the Oregon Police Department is to safeguard the lives and property of people we serve, to reduce the incidents and fear of crime, and to enhance public safety while working with our community to improve the quality of life. Our objective is to do so with honor and integrity, while at all times conducting ourselves with the highest ethical standards to maintain public trust and confidence. The men and women of the Oregon Police Department promote a safe environment through police and citizen interaction and by equitable enforcement of the laws and of the Village of Oregon, State of Wisconsin, within the framework of the Constitution of the United States. The members of the Oregon Police Department are committed to working together as a team by being innovative, professional, and responsive to public safety concerns of our citizens. We have created an organization staffed by highly motivated, dedicated, competent personnel, and we are pleased that Jeff has accepted our offer to be the newest member of our team. A little about Jeff. Hopefully I have all this right. Jeff is from Oregon. He graduated high school here. He went to Madison Area Technical College and received an associate's degree in criminal justice. He spent several years with our Explorer program and rose to the rank of sergeant, correct? Correct. There we go. Jeff has also worked as a part-time secretary for our department and a part-time dispatcher for the Fitchburg Police Department. Jeff was then hired as a part-time officer with Maple Bluff and attended the Law Enforcement Academy at Madison College during his time. He has worked very hard to become a police officer and has made it very clear that his ultimate goal was to work for the Oregon Police Department. So it is with great honor and pride that we swear in Jeff as the newest member of the Oregon Police Department. With that, I will now ask Village President Jenny Carpenter to step forward and deliver the oath of office to Jeff.
Sorry, this is the first time I've gotten to swear in a police officer as village president, so this is new territory for me.
So you have a copy, and you
I
can
have a
give
copy.
Jeff a copy,
Yes.
and stand up here in front,
Yes,
and
all
we
right,
can
here we go. Are you
swear
ready?
in.
Should I, Dan, you want me to take the microphone?
You can take that if you want.
All right, so here's what we'll do. You get a copy, I get a copy. No one probably really cares what I say, so here. Right? Do you want to go like this? All right, here we go. All right, so you just, I'm gonna say a little bit and you repeat after me. Okay? Okay. So I, Jeffrey D. Orritt,
I, Jeffrey D. Allard,
okay, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and comply
that I will support and comply
with the Constitution of the United States of America,
with the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Wisconsin,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Wisconsin,
the charter, laws, and ordinances of the Village of Oregon,
the charter, laws, and ordinances of the Village of Oregon,
the rules and regulations of the Village of Oregon Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Village of Oregon Police Department,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as a sworn officer of the Oregon Police Department,
as a sworn officer of the Oregon Police Department,
and I will assume my duties as of January 6th, 2020.
I will assume my duties as of January 6th, 2020.
All right, congratulations. Welcome aboard.
All right, so now it's my turn to speak.
This is a first.
I was offered. I have a lot of thank yous. So thank you, Chief. Thank you to the village for allowing me to fulfill my dream of being able to work here. So all of you that are here supporting me, witnessing this, I also really appreciate it. Whether it's coworkers, Officer Shuey, thanks for showing up. It means a lot. Rudy, LT, everybody that's here, my family, friends, significant other, my sister even showed up. So everybody here played a great role in getting me to this position, supporting me, and then obviously continuing to support me through everything. So thank you all incredibly. I'm forever grateful.
Thank you, thank you.
So we don't have a uniform yet to pin on, but we do have badges for you. So Jeff didn't really have a badge as an explorer, kind of a sewn-on patch. Now we have the official officer badge, so congratulations. Well done. I believe we have some cookies and refreshments, correct? So if you want to go to the community room, we'll join us some refreshments. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey Jeff, do you want to come and sign your official oath of office? There's 2 copies. Here, so you're going to sign there and here. Oh yeah, we'll keep one and you get one. Yeah. All right, so there you go, sir. Thank you, thank you. Yes.
Easily distracted.
All right, and now the audience looks about right.
Scott's still here.
Yeah. All right, so that was exciting. All right, so next, under public appearance, we have item A, discussion with Genesis Housing, Inc., Board of Directors regarding the award of the $824,945 grant from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago. So, hello, Scott Meyer.
Hello.
This is exciting.
Lots of exciting things
Yeah.
happening. You've probably already heard about the good news of our grant. As you recall, I was here back in May to ask the board for assistance from the Affordable Housing Fund, and it worked. We were able to leverage that money along with another loan to secure this opportunity with Federal Home Loan Bank. It seemed like a long shot back then, but things fell together very nicely, and we got a very exciting letter. Today I received a contract from Federal Home Loan Bank this afternoon. I still got to read and absorb that. We have 2 weeks to actually return that, officially accepting the money and all the terms and red tape and stuff that comes with it. Of course, everything free has a price. So I just wanted to come in largely to thank the board for their participation in this. I'm not sure, did Mike include the attachments I sent earlier? So you've got a few more of the details. There were tons of players in this whole making this whole event take place. Also want to recognize the Oregon Senior Center and the Oregon Youth Center, who both provided memorandums of understanding for the services that they offer in the community. That was a large part of the grant process. You score points for having supportive services within the community, and we had to provide a number of different services that were available in a small town like Oregon, having those awesome services already there and in place. It didn't take us long to put that piece together, so that was a huge part of the application. And I'm not sure where we would have found private organizations that provide the services that they offer to our seniors and our youth. So it was a real bonus having that nearby.
Good.
So the next steps in this process, we have to accept the award from them. We have completed a large amount of paperwork, capital needs assessment, put together proposed project amounts and stuff, all based on cost estimates, architects' estimates, things like that. So there's a large process to come with getting bids and narrowing down the actual work that will be done and how far we're able to spread this money. Hopefully the bidding climate is good this spring. It's been a busy couple of years for suppliers and subcontractors, so prices have been on the rise, so we're hoping to make the best use of it. Probably won't start spending money maybe in March, and it is our goal to try to complete it before the end of 2020. I don't know if that'll be entirely possible. It might crawl into 2021 a little, depending again on this year's bidding climate and work schedules and things like that. But our goal is to make good use of the money as fast as possible.
Do you want to remind the public what the money is going to be used for?
The money will go directly into our buildings for capital improvements. These buildings were built anywhere between 1972 and 1978, and a lot of the original equipment still is in use, and some of it's in pretty good shape, some of it really needs to go. So we will be working our way through the buildings and replacing the large ticket items, things like appliances and carpets and things like that are routine maintenance type items. We're able to do those out of our normal operating budget, but when we need a new roof or we need a new boiler or a new parking lot, those are tens of thousands of dollars at a time. And with the budget that we have offering affordable housing, the very essence of that is we don't have a lot of extra money coming in every month. So when it's time for a $40,000 improvement, those are tricky items. So this money will go a long ways towards securing these properties, hopefully for another 40 or 50 years of good use in the community.
So remind me, how many units of affordable housing are we talking about?
We have 56 units
Okay. So
total
apartments.
Apartment units,
Yep.
combinations of 1 and 2 bedroom units. 40 of those are here in Oregon, 16 of those are in Brooklyn.
Gotcha. Yeah. Great. Questions from the board? Here, Randy.
So, Scott, just want to say congratulations. I went with you to the orientation on this, and I know I was one of the guys pushing you to sort of apply, but the room was packed, and I mean, you and I know how competitive this really was. So I think it shows. I know you put a lot of work into the application, so congratulations to you. The one thing I would ask, and maybe in terms of our portion, the money that the village is going to give you, maybe you were thinking, I'd like to see how our portion is going to be spent, our budget, so that we know
Sure.
what our money was used for, and it's taxpayer money, and so then we have on record what you used. Probably just pull it out of your bigger budget.
We'll have a very
Yeah.
detailed cost analysis of
Yeah.
this. We have to provide invoices and things to the Federal Home Loan Bank, and
Right.
so yeah, it wouldn't be very difficult
Okay.
at all to.
I think that would be good for us to have.
Yeah.
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 But I'd say, great job. You should be very, very proud.
This was
Yeah.
a big process. Near as we can figure, we're told by the number that our award was assigned, we think we were the 4th highest scoring application out of
Wow.
the entire round this year, which is pretty unique. I think it was near 50 projects got funding at various amounts. The highest you could apply for was $900,000.
Oh, wow.
We applied for just a little less than that. We got our full amount. If we were further down the list, they may have tapered us off a little bit, but we were very high in the stack. So.
Good. Other comments or questions from the board? Excellent. Well, congratulations again, Scott.
Yeah,
Yes.
great.
Thank you for your leadership in Genesis Housing and in this project. It's very much appreciated.
Good. Thanks to the board and the village staff.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Congratulations. All right, so under public appearance, item 4B, we have a discussion with Alice Egan, who is MSSW, APSW Clinical Associate Professor, Title 4E, Coordinator, School of Social Work at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, regarding possibly forming a community advisory council on diversity and inclusion, and we may have board action. So, hello, Alice. Is it okay if I just introduce the topic a little bit? Okay. So this is Alice Egan. I'm excited. Can you tell? So I asked her to be here tonight. So when what is this? This is January. So sometime last fall, I had the opportunity to speak at the annual conference of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities for all the mayors and villages. And so that meant I went to the whole 2-day conference. I'd never gone to a municipal conference like that before. And everyone that I talked to, and a lot of the goal of the conference was how do we become more diverse and inclusive communities. And this was something that was sort of like on the back of my radar, but that conference really brought it to the forefront of my thoughts. And I asked Mike to include in our packets tonight, the League recently had a feature about what it means to be an inclusive leader. And so these are all folks that actually spoke at that conference. We have the village president from Saukville, mayor of Sun Prairie, mayor of Wauwatosa, Watertown, Oshkosh, Brown Deer. And so we have lots of our peer communities working on this. And then it was, I don't know, like the stars aligned. And Alice sent me an email, and I'm going to ask her to talk about what she does. But she has lots of experience in helping folks start initiatives like this. And then I'll have Mike talk a little bit about if the board is interested in this, about how to organize such a committee or a council, on the pros and the cons of that. So if that's okay, I'll just have Alice, you want to introduce yourself and talk, maybe explains a little bit about what diversity and inclusion mean, about the work that you've done with other folks. That'd be great. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here. Am I supposed to say my address?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Jenna mentioned maybe I should just. I really live in Oregon.
Yes. Yeah.
So I live at 918 Autumn Woods Lane. We moved here about a year and a half ago. We had lived in Madison and Fitchburg previously. I'm the mom of 3 kids, and we moved here for the schools like a lot of people do, and we're so happy to be here. We are just loving this community. We've just found it to be a supportive community and everything that we hoped for. It brings me back to my small town roots because I'm from a town of 650 people, and so this actually seems kind of big to me. But here I am in a small town again after living in Madison for a couple of decades. So, as Jeannie mentioned, I worked for the university. I was prior to that I was a child welfare social worker for 9 years, and then transitioned back and have been at the university for about 9 years. I'm a clinical professor. I also serve on the board of directors for a foster care agency in Madison. So in the School of Social Work and the wider community, but particularly University of Wisconsin-Madison, you've probably seen some news stories. We as a whole, and the School of Social Work included, are struggling and grappling with issues of diversity and inclusion. So much like Oregon is a wonderful place to live, and I can just speak glowingly about our experience here. I also am a UW-Madison grad, and I can speak glowingly about my experience there. But I don't think that experience is necessarily shared universally. I have a lot of privilege, and so my experience at the University of Wisconsin was smooth and wonderful, as has been our experience here. But I think that any university or school, the School of Social Work or town, is only as strong and as wonderful as it is for each individual person. And so that's sort of why I come here today, is that in my work at the School of Social Work, we've been sort of grappling with how do we make every single student feel included and like they belong. And so this has been a long struggle. You would think the School of Social Work sort of has this down, and we don't. And so I'm going to tell you why I'm qualified to help with this, but I do so with a lot of humility because I'm learning just like the next guy. And luckily, I've had, really brave students and colleagues and peers give me feedback to help me grow in areas of inclusion. I read an interesting quote when I was preparing for my meeting with Jeannie that said, diversity is a fact. So the fact is that Oregon is growing. And so diversity is a fact, but inclusion is a choice. So inclusion is the steps that we take, the active steps, the subtle steps that we take to make sure that everybody has a voice and everybody feels like this is their town or this is their university or this is their school. So a little bit about my sort of qualifications. I'm currently serving on a committee in our School of Social Work that puts on a 500 attendee annual conference on the topic of racial injustice. So, race and race relations is a topic in lots of small towns, and I'm sure it's a topic that would be worthwhile here in Oregon. I coordinate a federally funded training program in our school and was responsible this fall on my own for overhauling our application process to make it more inclusive and most importantly to attract diverse applicants. But sort of my bottom line as we were going through this is if we're going to attract diverse applicants, just like if we want our city to be diverse, it has to be a good place for people to be. Our School of Social Work, if we're going to work on attracting students of color and students from other countries and LGBTQ students, then we have to make it a place where they feel like it's their school too. And same with Oregon. I've had lots of experience in the classroom facilitating conversations about difficult topics, about race, about politics, scary, about all kinds of difficult things. And so on a daily basis, I'm tasked with sort of making sure that all voices are heard, not just the most privileged. And so part of the Wisconsin idea is to be of service to the university, but also to be of service to the wider community. And so that's why I reached out to Jeannie, not because I'm the expert on diversity and inclusion, but because I have some practice in this, and I think we have an opportunity here to make some real enhancements, bringing in diverse voices, to sort of have the ear of Jeannie or have the ear of you all about what it's like to live in this town as a person from a marginalized population, and perhaps to provide a little steering or guidance or feedback when decisions are happening or when topics come up from voices in town that perhaps aren't heard as often. And so that's sort of what I'm envisioning. There are lots of ways that this could work, and I would imagine people will have thoughts about that. Some places, Jeannie mentioned Sun Prairie, had an active committee for many years on diversity and inclusion, and they sort of had a couple of different tasks, very specific tasks. So the village board asked them to look at hiring and looked at how city services were meeting the needs of the diverse constituents. So that was sort of a really specific aim. Another just a random example, Everett, Washington, they have a committee such as this, a committee on diversity and inclusion that meets monthly to discuss concerns, opportunities, relationships, and then sort of provides that feedback to their mayor or to the village president in this case. Others exist solely to enrich the community, so to do things like provide trainings, cultural events, help with planning, sort of just to bring information to the town. Some meet sort of as discussion or support forums and could do that and be tasked with special projects from the board or from the president. So those are just some starting ideas or thoughts that I have. It seems like if the board is open to this, regardless of what you would like the committee to do eventually, or the board, the advisory board, or whatever we decide to call it, that we need to collect a group of people who would like to serve on this committee. And I think that the tricky part about that is going to be there are groups in town such as the Oregon Allies, which I think just spoke to your police chief, where of people that are really interested in that topic, and that's really important. I would see this committee as being something a little different than that and being very specifically focused on those voices of marginalized populations. And so we would have to just think about how to do that. And I've done some reaching out already to the JFF social worker, to the school social workers at the different schools, to Harry Hawkins, who did the talk at the Firefly recently, to get ideas for people who might be interested that sort of represent a wide range of diversity in age, gender, race, sexuality, ability, ethnicity and origin, economic status, but probably wanting to focus perhaps in the beginning sort of on one area of diversity, such as race, but again, open to what the board would like. So it could be an open committee, but I think it would I want to be focused in the beginning so that if you just put out an open call for who wants to come and talk about diversity inclusion, you might get a room full of 30 women that look like me. And that's not necessarily the aim of this. The aim would be just sort of bring forward those marginalized voices, and that's what I feel like I could help with is creating sort of a safe-ish space where people could have conversations about what it's like to be a citizen here and productive conversations that could perhaps provide some information to the board that might be useful and enhance what you do. It seems like a starting point would be those sort of productive, facilitated conversations. I'd be excited to get it started even as soon as February. It's Black History Month in February, and so that would be kind of an exciting time to kick this off. So anyway, thank you so much. I think that's all I have, and I'm up for questions if people have questions for me.
Questions? Yes, Randy. Yeah.
Oh,
my God.
I'm over here.
I was thinking you were Randy Way. He's long gone. Corey, hey, how's it going?
I am.
Sorry.
I am super excited about this. Alice, you're the reason why I love Oregon. People come here, they enjoy the community, and then they say, how can I pitch in and help and make it even better? And I really want everyone in this community to feel that, and I don't think they do. And I will totally support this, and I will be involved as well. I am very privileged, I recognize that, and I am probably not a good expert, but I need to learn, so I would love to participate in it as well.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions or? Yeah, Amanda?
Great idea. I also would love to be involved. I know we can't have too many board members on it or we're gonna get into trouble, but I love the idea. I would probably say, I mean, it's good to start out with a single topic, but I think there's a lot of issues that need work in Oregon, so I would definitely encourage whatever the group looks like, but, trying to, include LGBTQ and mental health issues and people with disabilities and all of that. And, there's a lot that still needs to be done, and I love this idea, though. I think it's fantastic, and I would love to see this community become more welcoming to everybody.
Thanks. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about how to set something like this up?
Yeah, so I mean, there's two choices. Other communities that you mentioned they're part of a city council or village board. But we've had, again, very fortunate when we've had residents step forward to do the Affordable Housing Coalition. That really started outside the village operations. I mean, I think Randy told me about it in passing one day, and I didn't realize it was even getting formed. And what's happened over the years it's been in place, or time it's been in place, is that people that are attending have come and gone, and now we've got almost a different group of people coming, and a lot of them are housing experts. And so there's a choice, if it becomes a village committee, we have to post it, we have to notice it, we have to take minutes. It can sometimes impact what people are saying at a meeting. So my recommendation would be, if it's okay with Alice, would be that we'd start off as a more of an informal thing like the Housing Coalition. At some point, it could be formalized into a committee under the board's appointment, but I would leave it open and make people more welcoming into. I think I would still notice it, so that way board members could show up. But it's different than people showing up for a village meeting. We can move the meeting around, if it's more convenient and so forth. So that'd be my recommendation, is to start off as more of an advisory committee like the Affordable Housing Coalition is to the village board.
And if we do that, we can still invite specific people to be
Absolutely.
involved, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So it can still be folks around a table, and other people could observe if they want. They could come and they can go.
It's just more free flowing, and I think the Housing Coalition is a good example where a lot of good ideas have come up over the years because there's different people now showing up at the meetings with different interests.
Yeah. What is Jenna? Do you have thoughts?
Oh no, I like the idea of mirroring it as how the Housing Coalition came about. It's somebody who's been with the Housing Coalition since its inception, I think
Yeah.
that really naturally came, like, just organically went to
Yeah.
a good place, and so yeah, and I can help you organize that if you'd like.
Awesome. Yay. Look, volunteers. So do we want some board action on this?
I mean,
I mean-
if the board thumbs up at this point to leave it as an advisory body,
Does that sound
Yeah,
okay?
good.
Yeah, Corey.
I like the idea of an advisory committee just from the standpoint of it makes it easier to organize and have meetings and do it. But I guess I want to make sure that there's also good communication between the board and actions that we can take to put things into place. So, like Jeannie said, that can happen, you know, they can get put on the agenda,
Oh,
we can
yeah.
have regular
Yeah,
meetings and things like that.
we could have a standing report too, if you want, to the board, to the full board.
I think that would be good, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, for example, that came out of the Housing Coalition was the grant that Scott
Right.
got. I mean, that, I don't think that would, I think he really missed that. That wouldn't have happened without the
Right.
Housing Coalition, so.
Thank you, Corey, and that was actually my question, but maybe y'all just sort of answered it, was if it's this informal advisory committee, is there a good way to make sure that there's a flow of information? Because sometimes what happens is that you have these meetings and there's these really important insights or valuable information, and then everybody leaves the meeting and then they see each other again in a month when the next meeting happens. So maybe we could figure out how you would want that to be.
Yeah, I think one of the ways you can do this, you can appoint someone to be the note taker or, you know, the action step recorder. And then that person is in touch with me or with Mike or perhaps both of us. I mean, I think naturally, it's very nice. Thank you so much for volunteering to sort of help get this going, because I think also you have the skills to perhaps be that person for the first few meetings. And when Alice and I talked, originally, she said, the goal is to have someone share these meetings that doesn't look like us. Right? That we're white privileged women, let's face it, right? And so the goal would be to have someone leading this that does not look like us. But I think for the first few meetings, it would be amazing to get it started, to get it organized. And then you can, I mean, just look to me and Mike as being that conduit. And I think it'd be great if we could have, on the agenda, have a report. Yeah, I see us being very, we're a pretty communicative group, so, yeah. So next steps then, do you want to reach out to the list of folks that you had thought and maybe throw a couple of dates, Mike or I, way, and make sure some of us can be there? Sounds like a lot of us might be interested in. And Mike will officially notice it as a village, it won't be a village board meeting.
Got
That
it.
just means that there may be a quorum of village board members there. Which means that most of us will probably sit in the audience and listen.
Okay.
Yeah, we won't run the show. Promise.
That would be okay too. Sounds good. I'll just be in touch with you then.
Yeah.
All right,
Follow
thank
up.
you so much.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you, Alice. Thank you, board, for supporting that interest of mine. And thank you to the board and to the village for supporting me and speaking at that conference. It was really, really good. I need to get out more. Right, Jerry?
Take a breath.
All right, so item 5, we have approval of minutes. We have minutes from December 9th, 2019. This is a special board meeting for the wastewater treatment plant facility plan. And then we have minutes from December 16th, which was the joint meeting with the library board. So we can do these together,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I'll move approval.
So we have a motion by Randy and a second by Jenna to approve. Any discussion? Yes?
I should probably abstain from the first vote.
Okay. David's gonna stay because he probably wasn't there.
That's correct.
All right, no worries. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and then abstain.
Dave,
Donovan abstains. All right, sounds good. So next, we have approval of vouchers. So in front of us tonight for a voucher list of January 6, 2020, we have vouchers in the total of $575,285.78. So if I could have a motion to approve to get this on the table, that would be great.
so moved.
Second.
All right, so a motion and a second. Now, do we have questions? Yes, Jerry?
Yes, I just have a question about the 7050, the Randall Stone Inc. Payments.